Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with The Walking Dead, Season 8, Episode 5, Review. So I did like this episode better this week than last week. Just in terms, last week I just felt like it really ruined the momentum that we had, the good, the high stakes, and all that, the action based, and it just kind of fell down from that, right? I mean, the Shiva's death, very meaningful in that episode. There's some big things about Ezekiel. Obviously, he was sort of spotlighted in that episode. But I felt like this one was better. I did enjoy this one a lot better. And I mean, I was a little disappointed with last week's, but it doesn't change, how good this season is. It is really is really entertaining so far, and I think this episode just helps it out. I think this one totally just balances out last week's. And I mean, this wasn't perfect by any means either, right? I mean, this isn't, the best episode of the season. I still think episode 2 is. But this one was, pretty good. So for this one, I'm just doing a short recap, this week, just because, I'm trying to shorten these videos up a little bit because I know half an hour is a long time. So yeah, quick recap, and then I'm going to share more of my thoughts and rating, favorite character, that typical stuff. So just like to thank you guys so much on the channel for 10,000 total views. We're almost at 11,000 now, when I'm talking about this, but I did do a thank you on the Brave review as well, but I thought I'd do one here as well, just different viewers, right? But yeah, thank you so much for that. I can't believe that we're already here. I really appreciate it. So and a lot of people care about subscribers a lot and all that, but I'm just glad that people are watching my reviews that I'm putting out there, that people actually take time and end up watching them, and even some commenting, some discussion being formed here. And that's exactly what I formed this channel for, to discuss these shows, movies, and all that stuff, for sure. And I mean, like, even in my channel description, I say, like, let's create a family here, and that's exactly in the future what I want to do with this channel. So I think that's a great, we're making great steps to that, and we only we're only gonna grow. So that's really great. Really like to thank you guys for that. Also, my voice, I don't know like what exactly is happening, but it is a little scratchy. So I may have like a couple of moments in here, and that's also a little bit why I've been late with this review. This is just one day late. But yeah, I've been late with a couple of reviews lately, but I'm trying to get back on track here. Sadly, actually, when this and the Brave ends, I think there's going to be a little bit of a gap for me, because I don't think I will have any shows that I'm doing week to week, at least. I do plan on doing The Punisher. I'm going to try to watch that series and then sort of do a review for that. I may do each episode review. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, once this and the Brave ends for the fall lineup, I'm pretty much done until January or so. So it's a little weird, personally for me, because I usually, don't usually have those gaps. But a couple shows I think that I usually watch have been moved to early 2018 instead. So anyways, it is what it is. Anyways, we were talking about Walking Dead. Let's get into it. So yeah, like I said, I liked it better than last week. Not perfect. There were some things. So sort of a condensed recap this week, like I said. We start out with the beginning of episode, which was one of the longest beginnings or intros that I've ever seen in The Walking Dead. It was 15 minutes long of just footage. We're not talking commercial, no, 15 minutes of footage before the actual titles, credits rolled, which is insane. I mean, usually it's like 3, 4, 5 minutes, and this week is 15 minutes, but also is an extended episode, and I'll get to that a little bit later. So yeah, beginning of the episode here, we see Gregory and the whole meeting that took place basically we saw everything that took place right up to Rick arriving at the sanctuary and, shooting in the air with the guns, and then, Negan going out the door and coming out. And that was episode 1. Right, so it was really cool to actually see this and see the whole sanctuary side of it, and that's what this whole episode was, right? I mean, it was really showing, the sanctuary side of it, maybe the exception of maybe Rick and Daryl, a few scenes there with them, But otherwise, it was basically a sanctuary point of view on the story so far. And yeah, I liked it. I liked the parts with Gregory. I love the part where the big scary you he says at the table there. Yeah, I thought that was great, and I will touch on that a little bit later. But that's the episode title, of course, and I feel like that's very true. I don't know how I exactly felt about the whole meeting, about how Gregory kind of just easily convinces him that he'll do it and that the hilltop's on his side. I don't know. I just don't think Negan, would totally buy it. I think Negan is a little bit desperate in this situation because he knows, that he needs Gregory. So I think he's kind of, giving him some leeway here that he really doesn't deserve. Because as we know, of course, Hilltop was not with him. So I don't know. I wasn't sure if that was, totally realistic that Negan would just accept that. And he didn't even really back up. Like, he just said, like, I am. So, but I did like the part with Simon and Negan, how, Simon says, okay, well, we'll just have to go in there and kill them all or whatever, and Negan actually gets mad. He says people are a resource, and that was a recurring theme in this one for Negan as well, in his scenes, how he keeps saying, people are a resource, we don't want to kill people, you just kill people at the right times, or something like that, and then he says, I like killing people, so obviously, he is a little bit messed up, but at least he has that sort of feeling that people are a resource, that, you don't just kill them for no reason or whatever, right? So he's kind of standing up to Simon there a little bit as well. So that was good. But my question is, why did it take this long for us to see this? I mean, we're at episode 5, and this happened, I would say, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour into episode 1. So why is it taking The Walking Dead this long, 4 episodes later, to finally show us that? I mean, I don't know. That's just the thing with The Walking Dead that kind of makes me mad sometimes. I do love the show, but things, the way they do stuff like this just, kind of, turns me off from it. I just, not many other shows do that where, and especially it's just started, recently with last season and this season now, right? With so many characters, so many, so much stuff going on. But I just felt like, okay, episode 2, I get that. That was a good episode. But then maybe show us episode 3. Or something like that. Like, don't wait until episode 5, because, on a casual viewer standpoint, you're coming every week. You don't really know much about the show, but you watch every week, and some of the characters' names or whatever, right? I mean, some people are like that. And they, they're like, oh, they probably wouldn't even get that, that linked up to the episode 1 scene. So, I don't know. I mean, I just think that they took way too long with it. I did appreciate it, but I would have liked it sooner. So then we have the whole Negan and Gabriel in the trailer. Now, again, why did we wait 4 episodes to see this? I mean, and then, yeah, I mean, I like this. I just think they're stretching things out way too long here. I like this, sort of back and forth between Gabriel and Negan, in the trailer throughout the episode. But honestly, like, you could have condensed that into 5 minutes of, actual screen time, and been on with it, but they just take their time a lot with these things, and yeah, I mean, that's a good thing as well, but also a little bit of a drawback too, and then you wonder, why you only see a quarter of the cast each episode. Well, they extend scenes like this where, they end up being half the episode. You don't have time for all these other characters. So I don't know. That's just, how I feel about it. But I really appreciate this, kind of, I wouldn't call it a scene because it was like a little bit more, but like, I don't know, I guess scenes, right? Multiple scenes of them in the trailer. So yeah, basically they have an interesting conversation. I mean, Gabriel, tells him about, how he left his congregation out there, and he wants him to confess, basically, right? Because, Gabriel doesn't know if they're going to get out there alive, of course. And yeah, I mean, it was good to see the aftermath of this. Obviously, Negan says, hope you got your shit and pants on or whatever. Yeah, I love that line, of course, right, in the premiere. But yeah, no, I thought it was good. It was good aftermath, very interesting throughout it. And yeah, I don't know. I thought Negan was very passive with Gabriel as well. He didn't, he did actually tackle him right at the beginning there to get his weapons. But nothing else since then, really. I mean, he really, was kind of just sitting there with them. Didn't really do much to Gabriel, physically or anything like that. Didn't really say anything. So that was interesting as well to see kind of a different side of Negan in the trailer there. So then we see eventually as, the scenes go on and on, Gabriel's not really getting anywhere. Negan, is not going to confess, of course. And, Gabriel, I think, kind of knows that, right? But, he's just trying to, and I don't know if Gabriel's actually being, legitimate here. I'm not sure if he's actually, actually going to take his confession and mean well with it. I'm not exactly sure if he really is acting, as a priest, really, at this point. I mean, I feel like he's just kind of playing him. But that was just me. I'm not sure if he was or not. But yeah, so anyways, then Gabriel eventually makes his move on him and kind of fails miserably. So basically, I mean, Gabriel kind of gets him to an emotional point, and Negan actually starts, saying, Lucio, give me strength or something like that, and turns his back to him. Has a vulnerable moment there, and Gabriel decides to take his chance, which I thought was very realistic, but I felt like would have been more realistic is when Gabriel got into the trailer right away, he had his gun on his shoulder, is to grab the gun and shoot Negan dead. Like, you know what I mean? I just felt like, why would he not, like, I get that, he's in shock and he just got in the trailer, and then Negan kind of comes out of the darkness too, right? So he didn't see him right away. But still, I mean, right when he sees him, he should, shoot him. But, I don't know. Obviously, you can't have him die yet, of course. But anyways, Gabriel makes his move on him and he fails, really miserably. I actually had to rewind this part because I didn't catch this at first, that he was actually, like, trying to kill him. Which is interesting. I mean, I don't know why he would try to do that. I don't know how that's going to help him get out of the trailer. I think at this point he didn't really care, right? He just, kind of wanted to kill him. But he's able to actually escape into the bathroom, right away after he does it, so that Negan doesn't, Lucille him. But yeah, so basically then he's in the washroom, and Negan actually, cares about him because he needs, him to get out of there. So Negan actually ends up confessing, and he's, we get a little bit more of his background. So if you read the comics and that sort of stuff, a little bit of his backstory. They haven't really touched on it at all in the show yet. So I'm hoping they start to do that in the second half of season 8 or maybe season 9. But we did get a little bit, this week. Right, he says he likes helping kids. And of course, I know what that means, but I'm not going to spoil anything from the comics. And then also, he confesses about his wife, about how he wasn't able to, put his wife down after, she turned into a walker or something, or she, was dying. So it was interesting. I mean, it didn't seem, too unique. I mean, we've heard of that story before in The Walking Dead. But that was kind of, what he was willing to admit. So Gabriel took it, right? He took what he could get, and then he comes out. So they end up smothering themselves then with guts and walking out of the trailer then into the herd of walkers, which I thought was pretty risky. And by the way, No Way Out nostalgia here a little bit, right? They're walking out, and Gabriel especially, right? Because he was in that originally in the No Way Out. But yeah. So I like this. I really like this part, and then I liked how Negan says, we got Lucille, because Gabriel, asked him how we're gonna get through or whatever. So that was kind of cool. So Gabriel is shooting. Negan, gets the bat, and this is of course after Gabriel kind of screws up and trips on a walker and then is attacked. So it was going well until then. But then of course then we see that walker like kind of fall on them, and we're thinking like, holy, like are they gonna make it back? But then it kind of skips and we don't see the rest of that scene play out, and they just get back to the sanctuary together. So yeah, good chemistry there. I thought both actors actually did really well together though. Great, back and forth there from them. And an interesting scene. I mean, we don't really see that much of those scenes with Negan, other than him, lining people up and swinging at them, bashing their heads in or whatever, right? So, yeah. So it was great to see Negan more on a little personal level as well. And I thought this was some of the most interesting stuff of the episode as well, was the sanctuary without Negan. Just seeing like all the leaders, like Simon. I don't remember the woman's name off the top of my head now, I forget. But the woman, Simon, Gavin, Eugene, and Dwight. And Negan. So those are like and 6. So there's 6 of them that are like the top guys, the top leaders. And as Negan calls it, one of my top guys or whatever. Anyways, so yeah, really interested to see this dynamic play out with the 5 of them without Negan. Very, very interesting. And I mean, Dwight and Eugene sticking together a little bit against Simon, Gavin and the other woman. Although Gavin is sort of, on both sides. I don't think he was, really, made it out like he was on one side or the other. But basically they come to the conclusion there that they have a meeting together, and they come to the conclusion that someone is a traitor, someone ratted out, and is working for both sides at this point. And yes, it probably is someone in that room, but it could be someone else as well. And obviously we know that it's Dwight, right? And like, yeah, we know that. So of course they're trying to figure out who the traitor is that told Rick Stroop this information, because they know there's no way they could have known it otherwise. So then later on, Eugene goes to Dwight's place, and this was really interesting how they did this, and you kind of had to pay attention to catch on to it. But Eugene actually kind of plays with one of his action figure, or not action figures, but like one of his figures that he makes, and he gets red paint on his finger. Right? So then later on at the table at the meeting there, they see the bag of the supposed traitor, right? And it has red paint on the bottom corner of the bag. So right then Eugene looks at Dwight, and I don't think Dwight actually figured it out that Eugene knows. But we figured it out, right? So Eugene looks at Dwight, and he totally knows now. He found out that it is Dwight. So he knows that it's him, and he has proof of it, right? That red ink on the bag. So of course, will he tell him? Will he rat on Dwight, to get Negan's good books, or will he keep it secret? It's hard to tell what Eugene is going to do at the end of the day at this point in the series. He's made so many, irrational decisions before. So it is what it is. But yeah, so that's definitely going to be a good question to have. And then also, I thought it was a good dynamic then that Eugene knew that they all thought it was him. I mean, it's just a given, right? He had a relationship with them before. Why would he not do it now? So yeah, I mean, I totally get that, and Eugene's a little petrified by that as well. And then Negan kind of stands up for him and says, if you develop a way for us to get out of here, then it'll be basically forgiven, right? Because I think Negan actually suspects him a little bit too. Obviously, he doesn't come out and say that, but I think he does. Sorry about my voice. It's pretty pretty raspy. But anyways, so yeah, and then we also see the workers actually come up to the second floor and start, storming the leaders, kind of, going on strike a little bit. And I like this because, we saw more information about the sanctuary and the society within the sanctuary, right? Of how that all works, about the workers, getting, staying on the first floor. They get protection in order for them, working or whatever. So, but not equal stuff as the rest of the people, the high up guys, right? The leaders and all that. So yeah, and our families, of course, too. So I love that. How the workers came up. The one actually gets shot by the woman there. She just shoots her. And yeah, she just shoots her, and she's gone. And kind of outbreak is happening and whatever, chaos. And then Negan comes back, and we actually see how important Negan really is to the sanctuary. And he says it in the trailer too to Gabriel, how important he is. And he really is. We see that, right? All the people are saying, thank God you are here. The one girl says. So even the workers that are being treated as basically less than people really compared to the other guys are the lower class, and they're barely getting paid much or whatever. Well, I guess there's no money, right? But they just don't get the same perks as the big guys. They still appreciate Negan and they still support him. So that just tells you what kind of leader he is and all that. And yeah, it really shows that the workers aren't really that afraid of the other guys, but then when Negan came, they all bow down. So that's cool too, to see that sort of dynamic too. Negan is really the only, guy with strength and power in this whole sanctuary. They don't really value anyone else. So that was good. Really great stuff there with the sanctuary. And then this was probably one of my least favorite parts of the episode. Rick and Daryl. So I don't know. A lot of people, they're watching. They think this is kind of cool. It was building up to it. I just don't feel the same way. I think Rick and Daryl fighting, of course, they're fighting over whether to use the TNT or not that they find in this truck that, they got last episode. They also get, last words out of that dead guy about how the Kingdom Army is gone now. And Ezekiel is, the only one left along with Carol and Jerry. So they actually know that now, which is good. But that's just, that's about all that they got from them. But yeah, so the decision as to whether to use this TNT or not to blow up the sanctuary. And I mean, this is a great idea. To be honest, I support it. Yeah, there is innocent people that may die, but I don't know, that's a cost during war. And I mean, that's totally wrong to say at this point, but just with, history of events in Walking Dead, when they've been, friendly and trying to, save people, it doesn't always work out in their favor. So I don't know. I think Daryl may have a point here. But I felt like, them fighting over it, and then they actually have a fight scene where Daryl, puts him in a chokehold and stuff. I just felt like it was totally forced. I thought, like, I just did not see it at all happening. Rick and Daryl were too close for this to happen at this point. They're probably two of the closest characters. Like, any other two characters could have fought, and I would have probably been okay with it, right? But these two characters, it's just not working. I get the build up, that he killed Morales right away, he killed the Savior the other right away when he came out of the tree. Okay, Rick didn't agree with them, but that was not enough to force this fight. And I mean, Daryl was actually like holding on, like he was, trying to kill Rick at this point, and I just felt like it was totally forced. It didn't make much sense in the context of the situation. Like, it's not that high stakes of a thing that they would kill each other over. Like, I don't know. I just didn't appreciate it at all. I felt like it would have fit better in a mid-season finale, maybe, build it up a little bit more yet, and then have them, like, still just last episode, they were making jokes, and, Daryl says, you look like shit or whatever. That whole scene there. And this week, they're fighting to the death, basically, over this, whether to use this TNT. I mean, it's a big decision, but I don't think it's something to kill each other over. But anyways, that's me. I just felt like it was forced. I didn't really appreciate it at all. I just felt like it was too early for this. I would appreciate, the conflict between the two, because I feel like they're, two of the most important, figures right now in the war for the survivors. And, for them to be fighting, obviously that's going to affect, their abilities. But I just felt like it was too forced, too early for this now. I just didn't feel like it was authentic at all. And I just felt like the actors even in the scene weren't, they weren't really feeling it either. Like, I don't know, you could just kind of tell. I don't know. It didn't feel authentic to me. That's just me. Maybe, other people felt differently. The casual viewer would probably enjoy that, right? But, fans, I don't think so. I don't think, people kind of saw that as, entertaining or appreciated that. So then, of course, this sends Rick kind of walking back because the other truck broke down, and Daryl is not willing to, take him back on his motorcycle, because that'd be a little awkward. But I do like this line where Rick said, chokehold's illegal, you asshole, or something like that. Like, I thought that was, I don't know, I thought it was funny. Maybe it's not supposed to be, but I thought it was kind of funny. And yeah, so Rick ends up walking. Daryl goes one way, Rick goes the other. And, yeah, they're kind of still mad at each other, which is ridiculous. I mean, really. And I mean, of course, Rick is able to, throw the TNT back, and it actually goes up in flames. So that's not a problem anymore. But Daryl's still mad at him? Like, for what? Like, I don't know. It just felt totally, no. I didn't appreciate it at all. Yeah, so then Rick ends up walking back, and then we see him walking for a little bit, and all of a sudden, we see a helicopter fly above him. And he kind of looks up, he's like, same reaction as us. We're like, what the fuck? Like, what is that helicopter doing? Who's in it? A bunch of questions raise up, right? I mean, who's in it? What the hell is going on? Like, how do they have a helicopter still? Is it the government? A lot of, questions come up, and I've seen lots of theories already. It's been like one day and so many theories online about it and all that. But anyways, yeah, definitely a WTF moment, right? I mean, this helicopter flies over, and I did read this one thing about there was a helicopter back in one of the earlier seasons, season 3, I think, or season 4, and we actually never got an answer. We, like, the helicopter just flew over, and we never touched on it again. So maybe this is one of those. Maybe this is hinting eventually, maybe 3, 4, or 5 seasons down the road, then we'll finally get an answer. Maybe this will be a new group or something. I don't know. But yeah, definitely a WTF moment for this week, and definitely an interesting, kind of cliffhanger there question, right? What is going on? Why is there a helicopter there? So yeah, that was very interesting though. Good to see, kind of those mysterious things as well. And then we see also in a frame that the junkyard group, I think one of them like whistles or something. So I'm not sure, maybe it's actually the junkyard group's helicopter. They somehow fixed this at the dump. I don't know exactly how that would work even, but maybe, right? I don't know. It's a stretch, but I think, maybe. So I don't know if Rick is actually going to see the junkyard group, or maybe one of the members, like, just, figured it out it was him. I don't know exactly what's going on there either. So that's kind of a mystery as well. So there's lots of mystery there with Rick, in the helicopter and the junkyard group and what's going to happen there. It would be great if they come back next episode, because I think, again, We haven't seen them since, I mean, the finale last season. Where are they? We're 5 episodes in, but anyways. Same complaints. Anyways, so then at the very end of the episode here, which was, definitely a great part to it, Eugene goes to see Gabriel in his cell. And, Eugene knocks on the door, says all this stuff, acted like an idiot. I really actually developed kind of a hatred now for Eugene, just, in him switching sides and all that, I don't know, just him, smart ass comments and all that. I don't know. Just turns me off a little bit, but I actually loved him when he was on our side, so I feel like I'd love him if he came back as well. But anyway, so he goes to his cell, and then he actually opens it because Gabriel's not answering, and we see Gabriel, and he looks very sick. He's sweating, so it looks like usually what people usually look like in the show when they get bitten, right? They sweat a lot, they have a fever, and then they don't look good, right? I mean, he looked pretty bad. He looked pretty sick. So at this point, you're kind of like, did he get bit? Like, that's the first thing you think about. But then he tells Eugene that they need Maggie's doctor back at the hilltop. He says we need to get the doctor and get out of here or something like that. So obviously Gabriel doesn't know that Eugene has kind of totally switched sides now. And I don't think he has really. I think, I do think that he's willing, he's not too far gone in that sense. But, yeah, so big questions arise here. I mean, and this is kind of how it ends. And then Eugene kind of walks off and we see Gabriel, and that's how the episode ends. So, yeah, some good questions here. Is he faking it? I've heard reasons for this already. I've read, reasons for this. He might be faking it just to get, manipulate Eugene to get to the doctor, maybe get him back to Hilltop, help Maggie out. And my theory is actually, hear me out, was he poisoned by Dwight so that he wouldn't snitch on Dwight? Because obviously he knows that Dwight is the traitor, right? So that's my kind of theory there. I'm not sure how all that would have went down. But it is unlikely, but I think it's possible. I haven't heard this one questioned before, but yeah, I think Dwight might have actually poisoned him so that he wouldn't say anything. And of course, then another question, was he bitten off screen? Because we didn't see him get bitten at all in the episode. So was it off screen that he actually got bit? I don't know. Good question, right? So obviously, no answers yet, but we'll have to see next episode, and that's a great cliffhanger there to end off this one. So now I'll get to my rating, favorite character, and some overall thoughts of the episode. Alright, so in terms of a rating for this episode, I'm going to give it a 4.3 out of 5. Sorry, so that's a little bit better, my boys. So that's a little bit better than last week, of course. But, yeah, I guess 4.3, that's pretty decent, right? I would say that's, good, right? A decent, average episode for Walking Dead. I thought it was good. I really like the Sanctuary stuff. That was, obviously the spotlight of it. Just a couple things. The extended episode worked really well this week. I feel like season 7, there were so many extended episodes that were like, we could have seen half of it. It would have been more effective. Yeah, that's how I felt for season 7. A few of the episodes, almost every extended episode. And I mean, there was a lot of extended episodes in that season. And this is the first extended episode of this season. Or actually, no, I think the premiere was a little bit extended. Not much, though. This one was actually like, I think it went till 10:13 Eastern. So 13 extra minutes of well, I guess that's commercials and, screen time. But still, 13 minutes is a lot. So extended episode I thought worked well. I thought, the way that this episode progressed, started out slow, but the ending was actually really, fast-paced, really well done. So, yeah, I really like the, extended episode. If they do them well, then I like it. But, I mean, if you're going to drag out this story a little bit longer so that you can extend the episode, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think that's good. And yeah, Daryl and Rick conflict force, that was definitely the biggest negative for this episode, and that's what basically dropped the rating. I mean, the rest of the episode was pretty good, but that just whole theme was just, I don't know. It totally turns me off. And I mean, we're probably going to see a little bit of aftermath from it in the next couple episodes. So we'll have to see how I feel about that. Maybe they'll handle it a little bit better. I don't know. We'll have to see. Again, another episode where we don't have a wide cast. We had Rick and Daryl, and then we have the Sanctuary. I think that's it. I may be missing some stuff, but I think that's literally all we got is Rick and Daryl and the Sanctuary. I think if I'm not wrong, I think that's all we got. And even if we got it, maybe a couple other characters that I'm missing off the top of my head. Well, we had Gregory, I guess, but I mean that was at the sanctuary. So yeah, not a Widecast episode again. And I mean, like, when are we gonna get one? It doesn't seem like it in season 8. So, but I mean, and that's also positive too, because you can focus on characters as well. For some people, maybe they like it better, but for me, I like, sort of the big team aspect of the show. I feel like it's a really, positive, powerful thing about this show as well. Is the big team, the survivors, the saviors, and all that. I just feel like they're too split up right now. It's just because there's too many characters. Like, they literally made too many characters for the show. And that's the problem with, adapting the comics to the screen. Sometimes things like that, you don't really think about that. But now I bet they're kind of seeing the ramifications of that. And yeah, they just have too many characters right now, to be honest. And they said, to expect some character deaths in the first 4 episodes, but we only got one in Eric, and that wasn't that substantial. So I don't know what to think about that either. That's another thing that we kind of have to think about. Why would they tell us that, and then it's false? So I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to hype it up, and a lot of shows do that as well. So great information about Negan's past. I thought it was great. We didn't get a lot of it, but we did get a bit, and I felt like that was good. And of course, I think this has already been said, but obviously in the comics people know that Lucille is named after his dead wife, right? Before it happened, the bat is Lucille. So we kind of got a little bit about that, right? With that, and he said, Lucy will give me strength and stuff. And we actually saw a vulnerable moment of Negan. This is like one of the first times that we've ever seen that. So that was great as well. Great cliffhanger for this episode with Gabriel and Rick with the helicopter too. Although I don't think we're gonna get answers to that next episode. But yeah, great cliffhanger there with Gabriel. Really powerful there at the end. Not much action in this episode compared to the first 3 episodes, I would say. But I mean, not nevertheless. I thought it was okay. I mean, the action with Gabriel and Negan kind of making it out of the trailer, that was really it. I mean, there wasn't, there was suspense and stuff, but there wasn't actual, like, physical fighting and action other than that. I just felt like there was a couple unrealistic aspects with Gabriel and Negan in the trailer there. Did Gabriel have a chance at killing him multiple other times than what he did? And when he did, he failed miserably. Just stuff like that, and of course, the thing with Dwight and Eugene and all that, and how they wouldn't just, I would think that these leaders are just pointing out right away that it's Eugene, and they all kind of look at him, they all kind of point it out, but no one actually says anything. So I don't know. Could have been a little bit better with that. And again, another great use of episode titles. That I will definitely give that to this show. And this, they're probably one of the best at doing it. The episode titles mean so much to the actual episode. It's actually really great. I mean, going into this, you're like, the big scary you. And it's literally a letter U, like it's not the word you. And you're like, what does that mean? And then Gregory says it in the first 5 minutes of the episode. And then you finish the episode and you're like, wow. I mean, he was right. I mean, the big scary you, which is unknown. So I just thought it was really effective. Again, we've seen so far in the season so far, they've been great with that, with using the episode titles, and conveying what the episode was about. So really great job there again. So those are kind of my overall thoughts for the rating there. Favorite, sorry, voice is really going. Favorite character is Negan for this one, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, of course. Yeah, and I already said it, but I like the personal information we got from a little bit of that backstory developing. By the way, I'd love to see a backstory Negan episode. I'd be perfectly fine with that. Like, literally spend an hour on Negan's backstory. Like, I would be fine with that 1 week. But doesn't sound like they're going to do it in season 8, maybe season 9 if he's, still around, which I think he will be. In the comics, obviously he is, but we'll see what they do with the show. But I'd love to see that. Sorry. I'd love to see a backstory episode there. That would be really great. And I wouldn't be mad. Honestly, if they're in a big action sequence and then all of a sudden they stop 1 week to do that, I would honestly not be mad. I would really enjoy that personally. And I think they need to do it eventually. But yeah, no, I thought that was great, and I thought he worked well with Gabriel. And also just to see, how important he is to the sanctuary, and see, sort of, another side of him that we're not usually used to, that leadership, that the charismatic, side of him that we don't usually see, that he actually does care about his people, that he is actually a good leader. So, obviously the ways he leads are, questionable, but he is a good leader, and he cares about his people. So yeah, really great there. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan, amazing job. He's just, the perfect guy to play Negan. I really think that they did great casting him, still, and yeah, he's doing a great job. So yeah. really great there for Negan. And yeah, so that is just about going to do it for this video. I know I said at the beginning that's one because it's going to be long, but whatever. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this one. I am trying to get the length of these a little bit down as we go forward here. So yeah, I may just shorten up the recaps a little bit more as well. But anyways, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support lately. Really, really appreciate it. You're getting to 10,000 views, and I don't know, we're almost at 11,000 when I'm making this now, so that's crazy, right? I can't believe that. So, anyways, yeah. So we'll see what's up for next week. Looks like a good episode already. I saw a couple of the promos. If you haven't, I suggest you go to the AMC YouTube channel. You can watch them pretty easily there, of course, for free. And yeah, so we'll see you next week for The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 6. Should be a good one.